There are 12 things that every Apple Watch owner should do to make their watch better. And we're gonna go through all of them in this video. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And to do that, we're actually gonna start off with the iPhone and the watch app. So let me just zoom out just a little bit right there. And the first one, to get to it, you go to the watch app, you scroll down to General, and then in here, I already have it off. You wanna turn off automatic app install. What does this do? Well, anytime you install an app that has an Apple Watch component, it's gonna automatically install on your Apple Watch. And you know, it's not the worst thing ever, but for me, I just like to keep my Apple Watch as clean and simple as possible. Now you can still install apps or uninstall if you haven't had this on. Now this is 27. Normally you just scroll all the way down to the bottom if you're on iOS 26 or older. But then once I scroll down here, you will see these are the apps that I have installed. To uninstall any of these, all I have to do is come in here and just flip that. And now this is gonna be uninstalled. Any app that I want installed, I can just scroll down to this, I can hit the install, and it's gonna install it to my Apple Watch. I like to have that power to control what gets on my Apple Watch. And to me, that's just the best setting, is to just manage it all yourself to keep the Apple Watch clean and running well. The next thing, we're just gonna stay on the iPhone for right now, and we're gonna want to scroll to music. So right here again, I have to click that because I'm on iOS 27. Normally you just scroll all the way down. Music is right here, and you will see automatically download recent music and pins. Now, this means that the Apple Watch is constantly getting new music downloaded and installed on it. Now, it depends. If you use your Apple Watch a lot to listen to music without your phone around, this is a good feature to have. But if you don't, it's taking up space and it's syncing data to your watch is also just taking up battery life or slowing down the charging, because a lot of this happens when the watch is plugged in. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn off both of these. You can even add a playlist yourself. Maybe you have a set playlist of 20 songs or something that you like to listen to and you don't really change it very often. You can just come in here and add that right in here and you'll be good to go that way. Now, another item that goes along with this is the photos. So photo syncing is on, and normally it will sync memories and sync featured photos all at the same time. Once again, this is stuff that's just constantly syncing to your Apple Watch. And if you never look at photos on your Apple Watch, what's the point? There's no reason to have this. So I go ahead and turn both of those off. Now I keep photo syncing on because normally I will sync an album, and you can see it's favorites right here. I actually don't want favorites. I want to scroll down to the one that I actually like, which might be towards the end. I don't think these are in alphabetical order, but we're just going to go with the Star Wars because these are Star Wars watch faces that are wallpaper watch faces that I like to use on occasion. So those and the watch face is another one. This is actually the one that I use most of the time. I think I actually moved those in there. So that allows me just to sync those. It will sync no more than 100. I think it said like 60 some in that album. So I have just that one album that rarely ever changes, once again, that is syncing to the watch and just gonna stay. So it's not this constant sync of photos that I'm never gonna really look at to begin with on my watch. Now for the next one, we can actually go back to the watch, and I think we'll be staying on the watch for the rest of them. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I get a message, I miss it because I usually have the silent mode on and the haptics aren't the strongest. So we're gonna talk about how to change your haptics. You're gonna wanna go to the Settings app on your Apple Watch, scroll down till you'll see Sounds and Haptics, I believe is what it's called. There it is right here. And then you have the silent mode, adjust volume automatically, which is really nice. This is a newer feature on some of the newer watches. Level is default. And then right here, haptics, you can see by default is what is normally set, but I set it to prominent. So just as an example, I'm gonna move this closer to the mic and then scratch this. I have a different way to do it. So I'm gonna keep this on this board right here. So here's the default. And here is prominent. So you can tell right there. So you can see right there, that had a lot more haptics to it. So it's gonna make it a lot easier to actually feel your watch when it vibrates. Now this next one's gotten a little bit better with time with smart stacks now. It's not as annoying, but I still find it pretty annoying. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back into settings. This time we're gonna go to general, and then we're gonna scroll down just a little bit to auto launch. And then in here, we have the live activity setting. We're gonna go right in there. And you can see this is where you set the live activity. So anytime you're following a sports game or whatever, and it pops up automatically in your smart stack, that's what this kind of controls right here. But you'll see if you scroll down, you have media apps. So this is anytime you're playing music or a video on your iPhone, you will notice that your watch goes to the smart stacks now. Used to, it would open up the media player and just show that. And it was always kind of annoying. And I really don't want that on my watch because I don't listen to music and then control it with my watch. Usually I control it with Siri. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flip this off. And now anytime I'm playing music, that will not pop up. And I can even show you right here if I go into the music app on my iPhone, and we're gonna just open this up, hit play, and it's playing right now. So I don't wanna actually listen to the music because I don't wanna get in trouble, but you will notice that the watch is not doing anything. If I go back in and I turn this back on, so let's go back into media apps, I turn this back on, we close that out, and then I pause and play again. Normally this would automatically scroll, probably because it's not on my wrist, but normally you would get this view. And it's not, like I said, it's a lot better than what it used to be because normally it used to just open up this all the time, even when you were watching like a YouTube video and there would be absolutely nothing there. But now it's gotten a little bit better, but it's still, in my case, like it's not something that I really ever need or want. So if you're anything like me and you want to get rid of that, all you have to do is just turn that switch off in the media apps and you will be good to go. The next item on the list is to help with battery life. And of course, we're going right back into the settings. We're going right back into general, but this time we're gonna scroll down to background app refresh. So if you didn't know, every app has the ability to refresh in the background by default. But you can change this. You can turn everything off if you want. If your watch is older and it has a really awful battery life, you may want to just turn everything off. But in most cases, you want to leave a lot on. You just want to turn a few things off. So if I scroll down here, you can see a whole list of items that are allowed to run in the background. So like my to-do list, I don't need that to run in the background. It updates pretty quick whenever I do launch it. I can keep scrolling down, home, lose it. I don't need that to run in the background. Maps, medication, I really don't probably need that one to run in the background. So we're gonna turn that one off. Mindfulness, I rarely use that. Music, probably should leave that on. Music recognition, probably that as well. NBA app, gotta leave that one on. News, I honestly don't use the news app on my Apple Watch at all. So we're gonna go ahead and turn that off. The noise, you might wanna leave that on if you are using the loud noise detection. But if you're not, you can go ahead and turn it off. And then we can just keep scrolling down here and just turn off stuff that we don't need. I don't use the podcast app. I don't use the stocks app. This is another to-do app that I don't need on there. Voice memos. The weather app, I actually don't use Apple's weather app. And this probably is one of those that's using a lot in the background. So that's gonna save me some battery life right there. So I just removed about 9 or 10 apps right there, and that's gonna save a decent amount of battery life. So the next one on the list is if you have cellular on your watch and you actually use it, you probably don't wanna turn it off. If you don't use it and it's really just in case of emergencies and you always have your phone on you, might as well turn it off when you're not planning on using it. So you can just come in here and turn it off. Now, if you don't have cellular on your watch or you don't even have a cellular ability on your watch, that option's probably not even there. And if you don't have a cellular plan, it will just say no SIM, and I don't believe you can actually turn it off. But if you do and you don't actually use it very often, it's really just for emergencies, you might as well just turn it off until one of those emergencies happen and then you need it. And you're not wasting all that battery life every single day when you're not using it in the first place. Now, this next feature could actually save your life. So definitely pay attention to this one, but we're going to go right back into settings because pretty much everything lives in settings. With this, we're going to go down to SOS. Right here, we have the fall detection setting. Now, depending on your age, this could be turned off or it could be just turned on only during workouts, which is great. Like, most people may not need this on all the time, but it's still probably pretty smart just to go ahead and turn it on and we can confirm. Now, it can send false signals. If you're somebody with little kids and you play in roughhouse and all that kind of stuff, you probably want to do it only during workouts, at least during that stage of life. But other than that, you might be okay just to keep it always on. Now, of course, if you have a use case where you accidentally call 911 because this is on, then you might want to turn it off after that. They're pretty understandable with that. And it's better to have it on in those cases when you actually need it, because this thing can really save your life. It's saved a lot of people's lives already, and might as well have it there just in case you need it one day. So next is more sound control. Now, this was added recently, I believe, maybe with just the last watchOS 26. I can't remember exactly, but if we go to sound and haptics again, if you didn't know, if you scroll down, you now have the options to change your text sounds. So we have the ringtone by default is Pebble, but you can actually change it to another one. Now, sadly, you can't set custom ones. You have to pick one of the presets that Apple gives you access to. But in the past, we didn't really have much option or any option at all to change these. So it is nice that we now have that option. So I can set it to twirl or transmit. And the haptics change for this kind of stuff too. But you can set your ringtone, your text tone, new mail notifications, calendar alerts, reminders, default alerts, and you can also change your crown haptics. You can turn that off if you want it in here as well. But it's just a nice little additional feature just to give your watch a little bit more customization so it feels more like yours than everybody else's. And another thing to help that, and we're not going into settings this time, we're actually going into the control center. You can scroll all the way down and you can hit this little edit button at the bottom, and then you have this plus button at the top. And once you're in here, you can add all sorts of things. So you can see, I can set up a new to-do list. I can do the backtracking since I have the Ultra, a new reminder just with one tap. Or I can have the camera remote easily accessible. School time for kids, you can set that up to where they can't really do much on their watch, which is really nice during school hours. But you have a whole list of different customizations that you can add in here, including the satellite feature. So you can add that as well if you have the Ultra or a watch that supports it, depending on when you're watching this. And then you also have some in here, which I wish I could say were best, but these are coming from the iPhone. Most of these don't really work that well, at least as of yet, but hopefully more developers will get in here and actually do some stuff. So like this one actually did, you can come in here and you can set it to where this is water minder. It allows you to keep track of the water that you're drinking, and you can actually just add a quick action right in here. Let's say, I want to say it's 16 ounces. And hit done. And now every time I tap this, it's going to automatically log 16 ounces of water in the Waterminder app. So it's just a nice way just to kind of customize this. And you can also come into edit, and in here you can also tap and drag items around as well to set them exactly the way you want them. The one thing I like to do is I like to add a new note right here. So I can just go ahead and tap the new note, and as soon as it launches and gets everything in, it's going to automatically start recording exactly what I want in that note. Now, for it to automatically do it, you will have to set it to dictation mode. Once you set it once, if you always do dictation mode, it will always just go straight into it. Now I'm going to hit cancel because I don't actually need to save that note. Another tip that's not as useful as it used to be because we have the always on display, but this is one that I used to use all the time, and I still do because I do recordings of my watch, and that is display duration. So if we come down here to display and brightness, and we scroll down to wake duration, you can set it normally by default, it's set for 16 seconds, but you can actually set it to 70 seconds. So why is this useful? Well, if you're wanting to do something, you want to just hold up your wrist and actually take a look at something. Maybe you want to launch an app and you're wanting to look and monitor a game or whatever else. Now you'll have 70 seconds before you need to touch your screen instead of just that 15 before it goes black and goes back to the watch face. So this is just a nice little feature just to give you a little bit more time if you want to use it. Now, just to give you a little bit more time if you need it. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the best for battery because it's keeping your screen on longer. Now the next step, now this is not an ad, I'm just a big fan of this app, and it is Carrot Weather. I always get comments on this app, and basically it gives you so much more control than the weather app. It does cost, it has different stages of costs, so keep that in mind, but the watch app is the best weather watch app you can get. But you can see right here, you can set all sorts of complications. If I go into edit, and we go over to the complication setting, you have all different options, so much more customization than what Apple's weather app gives you. This thing wins awards all the time, and I always get people asking me questions like, how'd you get your weather app to look like that? Because it shows the conditions and the current temperature along with the high and the low for the day, all in this corner complication. And then I can launch the app and get even more detail. You can see right here the percentage of rain. I think that's fog or air quality. I can actually tap in and get even more info right in here about the day. I can close that out and scroll down and get an hourly forecast. I can also even look, like you have all these options, so I can get precipitation amount. So right now everything's mostly at 0. We got 0.05 right there, and I can get the chances right here. So, and then of course I can scroll down again and get the full week list of what the weather is gonna be like, along with a whole radar system to see what's coming and where it's coming from. But this is hands down the best weather app you can get. If you're curious about my watch faces and what watch faces I really like, I have a video I made a little while ago. You can click right here to see that. If you've liked this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.